Hey guys, it's Mrs. Saucetta. I'm here to show you how to complete your work if you missed October 22nd or October 23rd, depending on if you're an A day or B day. So you should be on the date either 10/22 or 10/23. It says today we will learn about distance time graphs versus speed time graphs and how to plot points on a graph. So the first thing I want to do is go over presentation with you guys. So graphing speed. When we're talking about a distance time graph, we call it a distance time graph because it has a distance on our y-axis, y to the sky, y is going up and down, this is our y-axis, and then it has time on the x-axis. Time will always be on the horizontal x-axis. So where can you find time on your distance time graph? You can find it on the x-axis. So a constant speed is something you want to know the definition of. So when something's constant, that means it does not change. So the term constant speed means a speed that does not change. So what does a constant speed mean? A speed that does not change. So when you are graphing a constant speed, you'll notice that the line on this graph will be a straight diagonal line. So when you look at a graph, a distance time graph, and you see a straight diagonal line like this, you can tell yourself this is a constant speed. So this is where you need to identify the distance and time for these lines. So to identify the distance and time, you need to go to that last point because I want the total distance and time. So you put your cursor on that last point and then travel over to the distance, and that tells us that our distance is 100. And then if you're back on that last point and you travel down to the time, we can identify our time as 5. Then you do the same thing for B. Put your cursor on B, slide over to the left. B is at a distance of 70. A time of 5. Then do the same thing for C on your own. And then it said A has a greater slope, and then it has a greater constant speed. So if you can identify your distance and your time by looking at a graph, then you can identify the actual speed. You can calculate the speed. So if we know our distance for A was 100 and we know the time was 5, you would take your distance 100 and divide it by the 5, and that would give you your speed. Sometimes you'll see a graph where it has a nice flat line. What does this mean? I want you to notice the distance. Our distance is at 40. And although time is going on, the distance stays at 40. So this flat horizontal line means that motion has stopped. So what does a line look like when the object has stopped? It should be a flat horizontal line. So you see here, stationary, when it's stopped, it'll be flat. A steady speed, a constant speed, would be straight diagonal. And if we're speeding up, you'll see a little bit of a curve. And the steeper the slope, the faster the speed. So this one is the fastest speed. So I do want to remind you that we are using these to calculate speed. So you should have to remember our speed formula. Speed equals distance divided by time. And so it says, what is the average speed of an 18-wheeler driver who drives nonstop 1,600 miles from Houston to Los Angeles in 23 hours? So you would take your distance, 1,600, and divide it by your time, 23 hours. And that would give you 69.56 miles per hour. So now you would create your own speed problem similar to this problem. So now we're going to look at our annual snail race. And your job is to identify the distance the object traveled and the time. it took. That way you can calculate the speed for snails A, B, C, and D. And then there's directions on the side. So which snail will win the race? You're going to have to pick. So I'm going to have a Pear Deck link on here for you to click on so you can complete this Pear Deck independently. We did this as a class together, but you can complete that independently. And that link will be here under our 1022 live Zoom. Now, once you finish your Pear Deck link, you can go ahead and click on the plotting points Google slide, but it's actually going to have your name. And I'll show you how to complete this assignment. So this says that we are island hopping. You're taking a 30-minute flight from one tropical island to another. Your job today is to create a graph showing the speed throughout the flight. So what do? On slide 3, you're going to label your X and Y axis. The Y axis will be labeled speed with kilometers per minute, and your X axis will be labeled time in minutes. For slide 4, you need to examine your data table and locate the speed and time column so that you can use your data table to plot points on the graph. And then there's video instructions right here that you can refer back to. So we're going to label our graph speed, and this was in kilometers per minute. Down here is time, and that was in minutes. And to straighten it out, you could hit the space sign, put it in, center it, to center it. Hit the space button to bring it to the middle. So now we have our X and Y axis labeled. Now you're going to refer over here so you can plot your time and your speed. So our first time was 1, the speed is 7. So you always start at the bottom because you have to walk before you can take the elevator. So you walk over to 1 and then you take the elevator up to 7. So these are going in increments of 1.5. So we're at time for 1 and our distance now would be 1.5. Now we're at a distance of 3. Now we're at a distance of 4.5. Now we're at a distance of 6. We need to go up to 7. But if we go up here, now we're at 7.5. So your dot has to be right below 7.5. To make a dot, you can click on your shape, circle. We want it to be right below the 7.5, making sure that we're still on time for 1. Then you can do your little circle right there. You can color it whatever color you'd like. And you can even make copies of it if you hit Control-C and then Control-V. It will make another one for you, okay? I know it's a little bit frustrating, but if you click off of it and then you click on it, you can move it pretty easily wherever you'd like it to go, okay? You're going to do all the points, and once you're done, you're going to answer our questions. There's 5 questions. If you have any questions, make sure you comment on the assignment. Once you finish this, go ahead and turn it in.